Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining the Q&A, our private Q&A session for the LinkedIn Leads presentation that came out of the RD Entrepreneur Symposium. I will address the first question that came up, and that question was, should I accept all of the connection requests? I have a few answers. I answered one, this actually came in a long time ago, and I answered this one on stories, on Instagram stories, but the bottom line is, it sort of depends, right? So it depends. If you don't have 50 connections, then just accept whoever. It doesn't matter. Just get them in there. And if you want to, you can sort of weed them out later on. If you already have 50 connections, which you'll probably get, in a weekend, you can probably make that happen. If you already have them, then what you can do is sort of be selective. Figure out if you want to make a rule about who gets accepted and who doesn't. If you want to just accept any person that comes your way, you can. There are some fishers and creepy people on LinkedIn, surprisingly. It always surprises me, actually, that they're on LinkedIn. But there's a lot of what are they called? What's the term for the pyramid scheme? The MLMs. There's a lot of those out there. Some are actually fine. I don't really care. But some, especially in the field of nutrition, they come in and they want to join one of my groups, and they come in and they just sell like crazy. And so I have to delete them. I have to delete them as a connection. I have to delete them out of the group because they violate policies. So I have to look at someone's headline and make a decision. Like, is this person legit, or are they just going to be selling a bunch of stuff because they think they can on LinkedIn? So, if you make a bad decision, you can just unconnect with them. I forget what the terminology is. It's not disconnect, but it's unconnect, or so that they're not in your network anymore. And they don't know that. You don't get any notification. People, I'm sure, have done it to you before. They don't get any notification that you've done that. I'm sort of like Instagram. You see who follows you, but you don't see who unfollows you, which is nice, because you're like, hey, wait, where'd you go? So that sort of, does anybody else have any other thoughts or questions then about connections? So my rule for connections is I will accept everybody that is in the dietetic world, whether they are a student, whether they're in high school. That I've had a couple of those, actually. High school kids whose parents probably told them to set up a LinkedIn profile, who were interested in going into nutrition. I've had, obviously, lots of students, undergraduate students, who are going for their interns, and then dietitians. So I will always, no one even needs to waste a message to have me connect with them. So I'll always connect. And then after that, I sort of look around and see. I always see, like, how's it going to benefit me? That's terrible, but are they going to help me get connected to somebody else? Will they be able to provide a service when I am looking for something later on? I think most of it is like, how is your ladders going to be complemented, and where you can find new people that can help you with work. So that's the answer to that one. All right, I'm going to toggle over, and the next question is, I have a free account. Should I get premium account just while I'm collecting leads? Where does that list go? I have had a free account. When did I say I joined? In 2004. I didn't get a paid account until like earlier this year. I forget what it was. They just kept bombarding me with the, do you want a free month? Do you want a free month? And I just gave in, and holy cow. So I got the Sales Navigator because I had this idea that maybe I want to work with some more brands and have them sponsor webinars, so I can keep doing all the webinars for free, so that the people's, my whole motto with all my businesses, do as much as you can for free for the job seekers, unless it's like a course or something like that, but do as much as you can for free. And so that's why I'm like, I want to connect with some brands who can then sponsor a lot of our content. And I thought, one way I can do that is I can test it out on LinkedIn and see if I can get brands that way. And I honestly was shocked. I thought I was just going to get like another layer of LinkedIn that's sort of superimposed on top of mine, like maybe more permissions or something. holy smokes, like it is a totally different website. It is the coolest thing. And I'm not an affiliate. So it is so good. I got that first month free, and I've been paying $79 a month for it. Tell everybody else in here. I can't get rid of it. It's like a bad boyfriend. I don't want to get rid of it. So I have kept it, and I have created these lists, and within the lists, I then will identify who I want to contact, and you can get these lists populated automatically. You set up a search function for it. So, but exporting all the information is a little bit more tricky if you're a big company and you have a Salesforce account, which is funny. I just, like a year ago, I just let go of my Salesforce account because I was using other things that don't need to be, I didn't need to use that as my CRM anymore. And I was able to use other things. It was funny, but that's like the one way you can do it. So Salesforce is like this really beefy, gigantic enterprise version of a CRM or a contact management. What's the R? Where it has all your contacts in, all your lists and all that stuff. And so there's no way to do it. You can't. So without Salesforce, you can sort of jimmy a few things together and export the stuff. But depending on how big your list is, your list is probably not enormous. You can just like copy and paste some stuff into an Excel spreadsheet. So, and back to your question then about do I recommend it? I do recommend it, but I also recommend you can just do it for a month. And the month for free, and then say you don't want it anymore. And then maybe 6 months, I don't know how often the offers come back through again, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. Not to game the system, but that's an option to do as well. Or maybe hang on to it for a couple months and then discontinue it, and then, get the leads that you wanted, get the leads that you needed, got them out manually somehow. There's a connector that what's it called? Wizzo or Wazo or something like that. .co. You can look it up, and they will. They'll show you how that can be done. It's sort of like Zapier. Zapier doesn't do it, but it's sort of like Zapier. You could do it like that way too. So I highly recommend it. But it also depends like on what you're trying to search for. If you're looking for like brands, you're looking for that kind of a thing. But if you're looking for just, so somebody had let me piggyback this on to the next question. There was one. Oh, so maybe this is you, Anne, same question then. How do you research and identify companies that hire dietitians? So that is a little more tricky. So I don't think that you would need to use the recruiter or the sales navigator to do that. I think you can do that all inside LinkedIn and all for free. So there isn't an easy way to find companies that hire dietitians that you wouldn't already know about. So they have like these. I'll talk about back over on Salesforce or on Sales Navigator, on the paid account. You can search for job titles. You can search for work experience. You can search for industry and include dietitian in all of those search categories. And they will bring you up they will bring you up to, let me find, let me see if I can just look real quick and see. It's a lot of dietitians. It doesn't isolate down to the companies, about 170,000. It doesn't isolate down into the companies though. So it only has people by their job category. So if you're looking for a job, I think the easiest way is to then go to the unpaid version of LinkedIn and put in there what job you're looking for. And that's your search criteria. You don't need to pay for that over in Sales Navigator or in the other recruiter. You don't need to pay for it over there, or the premium version. You will see, so back over on Sales Navigator, it will just list all the companies. So it has like Sodexo and Morrison. So companies you already know hire dietitians. It's not like showing you, I'll use I just looked over at Moon Cheese again, and the dried fruit dried food company, and they don't they hire dietitians like as ambassadors or people who want to work with them to help them with their product more on a consulting basis, but they're not showing that in their company profile. That's a one-off job, and so that same job would then be able to be found over on the free side that you could find just on just by searching for dietitian jobs or dietitian. So you don't need that for the jobs itself. You can put in other types of search criteria, just like you can on any job board. Like you want to put in nutritionist or health writer or nutrition writer or nutrition brand ambassador, or of course dietitian, registered dietitian, research dietitian. You can put all those. You can create saved searches for all of those job titles that you would be interested in. You know, dietitian consultant. You'll get a lot of long-term care for that one, but there are lots of different options you can do over on the free side. I do think sales navigator is pretty darn cool though, but you know, it depends what you need it for. And did that answer your question?
I think so. I think my strategy is going to be doing. Oh, am I on mute? I might be.
Are you? I can't hear you.
Oh, I can hear her.
Oh, I can't hear any of you guys. Wait, let me see. Oh.
Can you hear me now?
I still can't.
I can hear you.
I'll change my, I think my speaker got. That should. Yeah, it should be working. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I'll just put it. Okay, try that. Try it again.
Yeah, I think I need to research companies. You know, I've been a dietitian for many years, and I left clinical some years back and segued into healthcare, IT, and corporate services. And now, you know, because of COVID, I've been kind of pushed into early retirement.
Wow.
And I, you know,
Yeah.
I'm still, yeah, so it's been happening a lot in New York City. I'm looking now to, I have to kind of reinvent myself at, you know, this late stage of life. So, yeah, I think I want to like do some, I don't want to take up the time because I know there's other people who want to speak, but just, you know, if you're kind of trying to think out of the box and thinking about all the possibilities, I think not just doing searches for the word dietitian or nutritionist, but just looking at companies.
Right,
you know,
right.
You know, thinking, because I have business background too. So do I want to, you know, if I'm really intent on working for food companies, like look up Pepsi or look up Nabisco or whatever, you know, that type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So that's,
so I think, you know, but going back to what you said and looking at jobs, you can isolate down. So LinkedIn, of course, has a lot of jobs. I've got not as many jobs as they do, but Nutrition Jobs has it. ZipRecruiter does. You know, there's a lot of, and in Facebook groups, there's a lot of sources for where you can find those jobs. But talking about LinkedIn, you can search by location. You can have multiple search criteria in there. And so if, you know, location's the number one, or like a, you know, a region is number one, and then, you know, like, you know how to job search, but, you know, like shrink it back down into, and see what's around the neighborhood. Like you said, like working for a company like PepsiCo, or depending where you're located, or even for a grocery store or something like that. So you can also search for it that way. I think it's helpful. But Anna, I would love to chat with you more. Let me go through all the questions, and then maybe you and I can talk a little bit about your career. I find it so super interesting to, and I'm going to say this because it's going to lead into talking about LinkedIn. I have been having so much fun reviewing people's resumes, because I get to ask them, where have you been? What are you good at, and where are you going? And it just really opens up this conversation about trying to get clarity on where you want to go, or where you have to go, or where you don't want to go. and what you're good at, and what you're good at but you don't like doing, or what you're not good at but you like doing. Like there's all those permutations. The reason I bring that up is because I think in your LinkedIn profile, to make yourself desirable when you're job hunting, having that very clear on your profile is so important. It really helps recruiters be able to find you. So having that sense of clarity and getting those keywords both in your about section, maybe even in your job description, but really in your headline. And your headline should not say open to work. I hate that green thing that it's like, they've just like put this thing that says like loser over your profile picture that says that like no one will hire me, even if you're like completely hireable and amazing. And so having that be seen in your LinkedIn profile, I think is so helpful. That, I talked about this in the presentation, that not only do you want to be able to find people, but you want to be attractive so that people are finding you, so that you're getting, people are looking for you when they have both the Sales Navigator version and the Recruiter version. So the Recruiter version is the deluxe version. That's the super expensive one. And so recruiters have that, or in-house recruiters will have that. So I think getting clear on parts of what you want to do, doesn't have to be everything, but parts of what you want to do, and put that out there, or what you're sort of available to do or open to do. You can always modify it. Putting that out there on your profile and your headline and your about section and your work experience and your skills, who you've gotten recommendations from or trying to solicit them from, so that it's painting this picture of what you're capable of doing. And again, just be attractive. So, but I would love to chat with you. Let me go through some more of the questions, and then maybe you and I can chat at some point, because I love doing that. I love helping people find their inherent awesomeness, because as dietitians, we've got this really interesting, unique training. As I said recently on a podcast, I can't remember if it's already been out or if it's coming out. Dietitians are like the whole package. We're like smart. We're, there's like all these things that dietitians are good at. And that just needs to be reflected in your LinkedIn profile, of course, on your resume, but in your LinkedIn profile for sure. Okay, so we did identifying companies. Okay, someone asked the question about needing banner help, and I changed my banner a lot on my profile because I'm just never fully satisfied, and I think that's fine. It's just like, it's like sort of changing out your winter coat every once in a while, or your handbag for the season. So I think I haven't, this person didn't share who they were, so I don't know what their profile or what their banner looks like now. But I think when in doubt, just make it a plain color. So I don't know if you guys know that the author Daniel Pink. Do I have any of his books right here? Daniel Pink, A Whole New Mind. Is that what it was called? A Whole New Mind. Anyway, his last name is Pink, and his banner is pink. And it's great. It just looks so good. And it's his brand, right? Like it's his name, it's his brand. It's how you find him when you're looking for his books. And it's just so simple and so elegant. I think if someone is a recipe developer, if they are a food blogger, or are interested in that, even if that's not their gig, they're even a side hustle, well, it's not even their regular job. I think putting the food, those are so many gorgeous free pictures, like unsplashed, like beautiful pictures of food that are professionally done, have like gorgeous lighting. I love that. If you're a speaker, if you do a lot of virtual speaking, live speaking, having a photo of you giving a presentation is nice. If you've got one of those, I'm trying to think. I just saw somebody have one who was a really good speaker, and they just, they did like, it was clearly them, but they did like this little cutout of them giving the presentation. It was really cute. It didn't look like it was Photoshopped from like, what's his name, Tony Robbins or anything like that, but it was up there, and they just looked great. They looked really good. I always recommend make sure you look at whatever you've done on your mobile version. Not too many recruiters are using the mobile, but most of us are sort of doing a toggling between the two. As I mentioned, you want to get any words sort of pushed over to the right of your banner, because when the mobile renders it down smaller, everything gets squished together. So I just saw one recently. Someone actually had their head, and you have to be careful with having your head in the banner, because you could look like, you know, the five-headed monster on your profile. They had their picture of their head, and then their profile picture, and it was like superimposed, and it looked funny. I don't know how there's a way around that one, but maybe make their banner photo or headshot like smaller, so that it's clearly that it's just smaller, not two versions of your Siamese self. I think even just like a plain, I think, what do I have on there now? I have one of my resume book that's up there, showing like the mobile version of my website. There are different ways that represent who you are, but just get rid of that LinkedIn default banner that's there already, only because it makes you look like you're not paying attention and that you don't have a brand. Everyone has a brand. Everyone has this is who I am. And just make that really evident on your profile. And you can just leave it there forever if you want to. You can change it out like I do all the time, but having something there is important. Oh, same thing goes with text as with your head. If you have text on your banner, which I've done before too, again, just make sure it's all moved over to the right-hand side. Don't center it in the middle of your desktop version. You want it over to the right, so that it will render properly on your mobile phone. Any questions about that? I don't think it was anybody in this group, because I think you guys have all named your questions. So, all right, the next question. Okay, this is from Susie. Do you know how to edit the thumbnail photo in featured links? Oh, right. When posting this, it seems to automatically format, and I would like to adjust one on my profile. It cuts off my head. There's not a way to edit the photo in the featured area. So actually there is, okay, when I open the pop-up window, the photo isn't editable. Oh, that's interesting. It should be editable. I'm wondering if it might be.
This is like a super silly question. I'm so sorry.
I know, but you know what? These are like, because if your phone is looking wonky, that's not...
It literally cuts off like right here, and it shows like from here to here, and I don't understand why.
Is it like a nice photo? Is it like a professional photo that you had done?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like the same as my LinkedIn photo. It's the same,
Yeah.
and I think it's pulling it from the website it's linked from. So I don't know if they have a different like
Oh, you're talking about
size.
when it comes up like on Google?
No, I'm talking about, so like
profile?
in the featured section, like I added a link, and the photo is of me in that link, and I don't understand why it's not showing.
Okay,
like
now that I might not know that one. Are we connected on LinkedIn now?
We are. I could also share my screen if that helps, but I don't want to do that.
Let me see if I can do it. INC. Why it's not coming up? Let me just see. I see what you're saying. Okay, so I'm looking at Susie's. Your photo comes up really well. And you're talking about, yeah, that's it. It's pulling from that. So it's got, I think there is, I see what you're saying. Let me just share my screen real quick, because this will actually help everybody. I was just going to see.
Yeah, because I don't understand how to fix this. Like when I click like the edit the featured portion that I have control over, like putting the link and the title and all that in there, I think it's pulling the photo from the actual website that I'm linking, which is fine. But they must have it in a different resolution or something.
So it's the size. Yeah, let me.
It just is very strange. Like I want it to be there, but I don't want it to be there because it looks weird.
Let me see. I can't get over. Oh my. You know, I always joke that I won't let this let me. I program my website, and I always have like problems can't get this out. Hang on. I always laugh when I'm doing a presentation for somebody else. I'm doing like a webinar. And so can you guys see her featured section? So it should say what the dimensions are for that. And it's pulling it, but you can so is this an article that you put in?
It's a link. It's a link to like a blog essentially.
So yes, you won't have any choice of that. That is that's a programming thing that we wouldn't have any control over. So I would recommend posting this as an article. So just taking that information, just the article is your about section or whatever you want to show up in there, and that's your article. You just add your article. And then you can specify what kind of photo you want attached to that, included in that.
Okay.
So I would do it like that instead, because this happens on all kinds of stuff that I do that. Well, for a while there, we weren't able to upload our own photos on some things, and you would just get whatever, like if I'm posting a job link or something, it'll just show up this, strange, totally gigantic version of the logo, the word nutrition jobs, not like showing, what the company's beautiful photo is, or other images I've put in there. So we don't have control over a lot of that, but you can control it by actually putting it in as an article. And so I do highly recommend that you just fill that whole featured section with stuff about either stuff that you've written. So what you'll do is you'll go into your profile and you'll add, like you're going to post something, you can post an article, you can post links, you can do other things, and then they can be featured and they will show in that little carousel there. So highly recommend putting any articles. There's always something that you've written. There's always something that you can include, or you can, like we said, that she's just going to take her website page and include it in there, just stating like her about stuff or whatever it might be that is not already in the about or the summary section of your profile. So it's about your website. So that's good. You can do that. And you can do a bunch of stuff. I put in a bunch of stuff all the time. You can do that.
Okay, thank you.
I get what your question was. Okay.
So Stacy, since we're on that featured section, I'm just looking at my featured section and I feel so lame because I'm like, okay, how much would you want to put in there? Because right now, the only thing I have in there is like our podcast, but I feel like maybe I should put presentations that I've given and, different things like that. But it feels like, does it get bogged down or is it,
I'm not going to call it lame, but I'm going to say it's, it needs some attention.
Oh, no, I know. I mean,
no, that's good. That's good. Otherwise I can't help. So so you can put it, so let me back up. Think about what your goal is of your profile. Is it to be able to attract more people coming to you as podcast guests? Do you want a new job? Do you want brands to be able to eventually sponsor your podcast? How are you making money off of your LinkedIn profile? So I guess that's sort of stepping back and looking at that as the picture, like what do you want out of your LinkedIn profile, besides just being friendly and nice reciprocal conversations with people and all that. If you're looking at boosting the podcast, if you guys don't already know it, Tony has a really, really good podcast. And so eventually, I would imagine, wouldn't it be great to have people sponsoring it?
Yeah, Stacey.
Right. Yeah. So that's what you want to show what impact you've had. You can put, so I just started doing this thing also. I started putting testimonials up there.
Wow.
You can do that. I hadn't thought it. So I saw that someplace else. I'm like, oh, that's genius. So if you've got your own business or you've ever done any side consulting for somebody, like, and that might even pertain to you, if you've ever done any consulting for anybody, you can put stuff related to that in that featured section. You can draft it as an article. There's other ways to add in that featured section. So Tony, what I would do is I would either pull out some, maybe some quote. You could do a whole bunch of different ways. A photo of like you and the guest, And if you ever get to the point where you can like share your metrics on how many downloads you have, I know that's not spoken about too much in the podcast world, but so that they would know sort of, or a link to your media kit, that would be good. And so on there, you don't have to advertise to everybody what your downloads are, but on your LinkedIn profile, but you could put it on your media kit to eventually get that. And then anything else. So, and if you are looking for a job, this goes for everybody, is there something, if do you want to go into lactation consulting? And so you'd want to have maybe some articles about positive ways to for letdown, or anything that's going to sort of reinforce what your goal is, back to what your whole intent on being on LinkedIn. And I have to say, this is sort of a new concept to me in the last several years. I think I'd always just use LinkedIn as almost like a contact list, an address book, where I wanted to find somebody and I could just find somebody that way. Or just, I didn't pay too much of attention. I didn't pay much attention to it as a way to be a storefront for me, like an actual store where people could come in and learn more about all the clothes on my shelves. Like, they could just like look in and see what I have to offer. I wasn't doing a good job telling people about what it was I had to offer besides the job. So if whether you have your own business or you are eventually wanting to always up your game with business, getting to the next position, or getting more clients if you have an existing business or a side hustle, I think making that clear on your LinkedIn profile. And again, always thinking back, how am I making money off my LinkedIn profile, especially if you're paying for Sales Navigator, right? Yeah. Like how is this, the whole funnel, how is this helping me? And going at it from that perspective. There are some people that make a huge to-do about their featured sections. And I've learned a lot from other people as well. I always like doing that. I always like going over to other people that are successful, and looking at their profiles and seeing what they have on there. I think it's super helpful.
So would you add things, like that presentation you and I did at the symposium? Would that be in featured, or would it be more in, I'm trying to think of where things like that would be.
So if I want to keep doing more, if I want more people to hire me to go, this wasn't a hired gig, but do I want more people to come and hire me to do presentations? Do I want to say that I can do more virtual workshops or virtual webinars of some sort? I would definitely put that in there. I would definitely, and Tony, you gave me a good idea. Like maybe I should put more of that in just for my own tribe, that I have these webinars, that I do these live things on a monthly basis. And so maybe that could be something you could put in there. The alternative for a past presentation, if you don't want to put it in the featured carousel, is that you could just include it in so there's a whole long list of things you can include in your profile that LinkedIn already provides for you. They like awards or volunteer service. They have media that you've done in your about section. Your about section is so super long. You could just start listing out all the presentations that you've done and say, I am ready to be hired. I'm available for hire. I have been hired, and this is where I have been. You can list them out kind of like CV style. The chance of someone reading that is probably not so great. There should be some keywords in there. If virtual speaker. So I just put that in my headline just recently, a virtual speaker. And I'll tell you, I got a couple like connections because of that. They were asking me about something. It's like, that's magic. That works, those keywords. That's pretty cool. I hadn't thought of doing that before. I spend a long time on LinkedIn, but it's not my full-time job. Like some people have it as a podcaster. They have much more vested interest in learning everything there is about LinkedIn. I really enjoy it. So I stay up to date, but back to the original question. So if someone's going to be looking in at your about section, they'll see it. Likely they're not. And if you really want to highlight that was an important presentation that really showcased your authority on a particular topic, having a visual there for someone to see. Well, like, wouldn't you rather like see a little thumbprint of like giving a talk, or making some sort of little image in Canva that says, you know, what the name of the talk was, where you were, maybe an image of from the program or something. If you couldn't get someone to take a picture of you, like I don't have a picture of me from that event, but I have one of us hanging out together afterwards. I might do that. And there's a bunch of different ways you can highlight those past presentations. You could do like a blog style, like synopsis of what it was that you gave without giving too much away. If you want to have people then go back over to YouTube and watch it there, because you need to get your hour. This is me speaking now, because you want to get your hours up to 4,000 hours so you can monetize your YouTube account. So there's, you know, all different ways of always like thinking, right? You're always thinking of like the money part of it, because I harp on this because dietitians over the years, we just haven't been sort of like resigned ourselves to not making a ton of money. And that is wrong. Like there's always ways to be able to share your information and get something back in return. Yeah.
Well, you know, saying that, Stacy, it's true, because even with our podcast, we've been waiting and waiting, you know, and I think this speaks to the dietitian sort of ethos, that we've been waiting until we had, you know, 50 plus episodes in the catalog before we wanted to move towards monetizing. I mean, there's a lot of people that day one start monetizing, but I think because of our whole philosophy on, you know, getting everything buttoned up and doing, you know, nice.
Right.
But it could be almost to a fault. Like, you know, what is that magic number? I think we're there, you know, so that's why it's good to hear you say that, because it's another prompt to move that way and think more that way. So
another thing, Tony, and this could apply to everyone else, when you're doing either a blog posting or you're doing a podcast or writing an article, you can work with somebody, you can work with a brand, you can work with another company or something and have them sponsor you. Not everyone needs to know how much you received from them, what that paid sponsorship was. It could have been $100. It could have been $5,000. No one has to know what that was, but you can list that. Let's say it was $100 from a company who is maybe related to you in some way, or that you obviously believe in. You stated on the podcast, you know, this was supported in part by. And no one needs to know how much it was. That can build momentum, and say that it was paid, of course, and that can build momentum for future people to sponsor you as well. So same goes for handouts that you provide. You can put at the bottom. I do this a lot. I make more than $100 on it, but I'll put this on the bottom of a download or something when I had a company support and partner, because then they get the visibility, and I highlight them, and I talk about them, and I always work with brands that I truly believe in and that I care about. But I, make it transparent too. But again, for attracting additional people to pay, they don't have to know how much. It's like in jobs, like you don't have to talk about what you made in your last job. It's an illegal question, by the way, in a job interview, but you don't need to tell anybody what you made in your last job. You're all about the future. So.
Thank you very much.
What's that?
I just said, thank you.
Okay. All right, let me go back over. I think there was something else I wanted to address. Banner. Okay, no, I think we got all those ones about. Okay. Does everyone feel happy with their headline? Do you like your headline? Do you think it's okay or not so good? I think the headline is one that is really hard to write, but it shows up, and I just wanted to highlight this. If it shows up in Google search, if you type in your name and see what your profile is, you will see your headline right there. So you want to make sure that that headline is one that you like. And again, you can change it all the time. I change mine all the time. I just said, I just added virtual what did I put on there? Virtual speakers. You can change things all the time and see if it changes how you get contacted with. And that could be something interesting. If you have an idea of what you want to go into, let's say you want to go into, I'm just going to make this up, food labeling. And you can say that you're a food label consultant. It doesn't have to be your full-time gig. It doesn't even have to be a side hustle. You don't even need an LLC to say that you're a consultant in food labeling. So that can make sure it goes into your headline. Again, it's about the keywords. It's about drawing the audience into you, whether it's that audience is a recruiter, a fellow dietitian, or a brand you want to work with or collaborate with. So that's what I want. I just want to make sure that people understood the value of your headline. What was the other thing I was going to mention? Oh, has anyone seen the stories yet? LinkedIn stories? What do you guys think about that? I know. I'm kind of like, whatever. It was funny. So I do stories on Instagram, and you can look at your analytics. And I only have like 2,000 followers on my Instagram account. I have a fair amount of engagement, but not 21. It's not very much. It's a small number. On my LinkedIn profile, I'll say when I put a story up on Instagram, I get hundreds of people that have either seen it or react to it. Not hundreds of people to react, but a handful of people will react most days' stories, and hundreds of people will have seen it. And my brand is getting out there. LinkedIn, on the other hand, I have 4,000 contacts, and then I have about 60,000 people that are following Nutrition Jobs as a company page. I sent out a story, and I think I got like 11 views, and I thought that's really interesting. It could be because it's only been rolled out in the US and Brazil and Australia. There's a handful of other countries. It's not nationwide. And so that made me think, I'm not probably, that story didn't get out to everybody, all those people that are connected with me. And then not everybody has stories. And then you can only get stories on your mobile device. You can't get it on the desktop version. And LinkedIn always feels more like a desktop version platform to me. And then I was like, well, what do I say? Like, what am I going to talk about? And I saw what other people were putting up there, people that were our LinkedIn professionals, I call them. And I could see it was just all repurposed stuff from their IG accounts, from their Instagram accounts. And it's like, well, what's the point of doing that? The whole idea is having a little bit of tailored content for each of the social platforms. But it's meant to be like casual conversation, interacting, like hanging out at the water cooler conversation, and talking about your weekend and troubles you've had at work. I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. I will look forward to seeing where it goes. And you can also just like with Instagram, you can do like hashtags, you can do mentions. But I have a call into actually one of the directors of communication at LinkedIn to ask them more about this. I'm going to try to interview them and put a blog post out on this. But you can do an @ such, whatever. And I thought, well, what is the @ Because some people have a LinkedIn profile URL that is their name. And I don't know what everyone's is. Everyone's a little bit different. Or they've not done that. They have not personalized their LinkedIn URL. And it's like that really long passwordy looking URL. So I don't know, maybe it is their name, but maybe there's a middle initial, like Tony, maybe you have your middle initial in there. I don't know. So I'll find out more about that part too. Has anyone used it? No? Yes? Okay. Let's see. Those were the major points that I wanted to, oh God, I forgot about the chat. I told you I'm not good at this. Okay, researching the companies. Yeah, I know. I don't mind the wood panel. I'll say this though. It makes me wonder if you all like construction. If you are in construction, right?
Because I am married to an architect, so maybe
that's interesting.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I know, Stacy, that's the least of my problems on LinkedIn,
okay.
but that's
this work. I'm trying to say this diplomatically. Working on your LinkedIn profile, it's not so fun. It's kind of, it's not. It's I like it, but it's kind of dry stuff, and so it's not always on the top of your creative list. But I think if you can just chip away at little sections. Quite honestly, I think the profile, the profile picture is the most important thing. Your headline, I like your featured carousel stuff. I think that's important. And your banner. And did I say headline? So I think those are your key things, and making sure that if you have the time, if you've got your own side hustle or consulting business, whether or not it's a legal business, or that you have a company page, you have some other new place to put a bunch of this stuff. So you, Tony, you could actually have your podcast as a company page, and then that's another place where you can list all of your episodes. Oh, that's genius. No. I'm kidding. And so I would like to see you have the podcast logo behind you, that pretty pink, the pod, like the path, all that stuff behind you. I don't know. Try it out and see what you think. Thank you, Susie. And yeah, good. Okay. Did I get everything? Okay, good. And if you want to stay on the call for a minute, we can finish chatting, or we can chat offline as well too. Anybody else have any more questions? Just put them in the chat. Raise your hand really quick if you want to. I'm going to stop recording. Thanks for all you virtually who are out there who couldn't log in today. But thank you for, again, participating in the RD Entrepreneur Symposium. I know Heather does a really fantastic job, and I'm super thrilled that you had an interest in working on your LinkedIn profile. And I wish you the best of luck with your work that you get through your LinkedIn profile.